Thomas Fitzpatrick was not a man of ordinary aspirations. He was a man driven by a sense of adventure and a thirst for the extraordinary. He tended bar in his brother's establishment in Washington Heights, a neighborhood bustling with life and stories. But his heart yearned for the boundless freedom of the skies. The bar was his stage, but the sky was his true calling. He had tasted flight as a World War II veteran, piloting bombers over perilous landscapes. The war had given him a sense of purpose and a taste of the skies. The thrill of soaring above the clouds, the wind whipping past his face, had left an indelible mark on his soul. It was an experience that he could never forget. Fitzpatrick, however, was not content with just memories. He longed to feel the rush of adrenaline once more. He craved the adrenaline rush, the intoxicating sensation of pushing boundaries. The mundane life of a bartender could never satisfy his adventurous spirit. Little did anyone know, this seemingly ordinary bartender was about to become a legend, etching his name in the annals of New York City history with 2 daring acts of aerial audacity. His story would be told for generations. Fitzpatrick's reputation preceded him. He was a man of charisma and charm, known far and wide. He was known for his quick wit, his infectious laughter, and a penchant for living life on his own terms. His presence lit up any room he entered. He was a man who embraced challenges, scoffed at limitations, and never backed down from a dare. His courage was as boundless as his dreams. His eyes, twinkling with mischief and determination, hinted at the audacious spirit that burned within. They were the eyes of a man who was always ready for the next big adventure. It was this spirit, fueled by liquid courage one fateful night, that led him to make a bet that would forever change his life and leave an entire city bewildered. The bet was simple, yet its implications were profound. The year was 1956. The place, a dimly lit bar in Washington Heights. The air was thick with the smell of cigarettes and the hum of conversation. Fitzpatrick found himself caught in a heated debate with a fellow patron. Voices were raised and the tension was palpable. The topic landing a plane on the narrow streets of New York City. It was a wild idea, almost unthinkable. Fitzpatrick, fueled by alcohol and his innate daredevil spirit, claimed it could be done. He was known for his boldness, and tonight was no different. His companions scoffed, calling it an impossible feat. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for Fitzpatrick's response. A bet was struck, the stakes high, the challenge accepted. Fitzpatrick's eyes gleamed with determination. Fitzpatrick, true to his word, was determined to prove his doubter wrong. He had a reputation to uphold. Under the cover of darkness, Fitzpatrick snuck into the Teterboro Airport in New Jersey. The night was silent, the air crisp. He had his eyes on a prize, a single-engine plane, its propeller glinting under the pale moonlight. It was a beauty, and it was his ticket to winning the bet. With practiced ease, he hot-wired the aircraft, his heart pounding in his chest. Every second felt like an eternity. He had no flight plan, no clearance, only the unwavering belief in his own abilities and the burning desire to win the bet. The odds were against him, but that only fueled his resolve. With a roar of the engine, Fitzpatrick took to the skies, the city lights sprawling beneath him like a glittering tapestry of dreams. The adventure had just begun. The stolen plane buzzed over the George Washington Bridge, its shadow racing across the darkened streets. Fitzpatrick skillfully maneuvered the aircraft through the concrete canyons of Upper Manhattan, his target St. Nicholas Avenue, a wide thoroughfare in his own neighborhood. With nerves of steel and a touch of bravado, he guided the plane lower and lower, the streetlights casting an eerie glow on the wings. The plane touched down smoothly in the dead of night, its landing illuminated by the surprised faces of onlookers peering from their windows. It taxied to a stop outside a bar, much to the astonishment of its patrons. Fitzpatrick had done it. He had landed a plane on a New York City street. Word of his audacious feat spread like wildfire. People poured out of their homes, drawn to the spectacle of a plane resting incongruously on their street. Fitzpatrick, greeted with cheers and gasps of disbelief, emerged from the cockpit, a triumphant grin plastered across his face. The celebratory atmosphere was short-lived. The night had started with joy and excitement, but it was about to take a dramatic turn. The wail of approaching sirens pierced the night, signaling the arrival of the law. The once jubilant crowd now stood in uneasy silence, their revelry interrupted by the harsh reality of consequences. Fitzpatrick's moment of glory was over. The police moved swiftly, and within moments he was in handcuffs. His daring escapade abruptly halted. He was arrested on the spot, his daring stunt landing him in a jail cell instead of the history books, for now at least. The cold, hard reality of his actions began to sink in as he was led into the cell. The stolen plane, an unexpected visitor on St. Nicholas Avenue, became a magnet for curious onlookers and baffled authorities alike. People gathered, whispering and pointing, trying to make sense of the bizarre scene. Fitzpatrick's trial was a media sensation. Reporters flocked to the courthouse, eager to capture every detail of the audacious pilot's story. Newspapers splashed his story across their front pages, dubbing him the bravest or perhaps craziest pilot in the world. His face became a symbol of daring and defiance. The judge, torn between admiration for his audacity and the need to uphold the law, levied a relatively paltry fine. It was a decision that reflected the complexity of Fitzpatrick's actions. It seemed the gravity of Fitzpatrick's offense was outweighed by the sheer audacity of his accomplishment. The courtroom buzzed with a mix of disbelief and admiration. He became a local folk hero, his story recounted in hushed tones in bars and living rooms across the city. But Fitzpatrick wasn't done. The taste of fame was intoxicating, and he yearned for more. He had tasted the forbidden fruit of fame and craved another bite. The thrill of his audacious act lingered, pushing him to seek out new adventures and challenges. 2 years passed. The memory of Fitzpatrick's daring feat began to fade, replaced by newer sensations and scandals in the ever-churning news cycle of New York City. Yet the legend of the flying bartender lingered, a whisper in the wind, a tale told and retold in hushed tones. Fitzpatrick, it seemed, had moved on, his thirst for adventure seemingly quenched. But beneath the surface, the embers of his daring spirit still glowed, waiting for the right moment to ignite. That moment arrived on a chilly night in 1958. Once again, fueled by liquid courage and an insatiable desire to prove himself, Fitzpatrick found himself drawn back to the scene of his previous triumph. The setting was different this time, the stakes arguably higher. Yet the motivation remained the same, to prove that the impossible was indeed possible for a man with enough courage, a dash of recklessness, and perhaps a touch of madness. The familiar roar of an engine sliced through the night, startling awake residents of Manhattan's Upper West Side. Their sleepy eyes widened in disbelief as they spotted a small plane, its wings tilting precariously between buildings, descending towards the ground. It was Fitzpatrick, back for an encore performance, this time choosing Amsterdam Avenue as his landing strip. With the same audacity and precision he had displayed 2 years prior, Fitzpatrick landed the stolen plane on the avenue, bringing traffic to a standstill. Car horns blared, blending with the gasps and cheers of onlookers. Fitzpatrick had done it again. He had once again challenged the laws of physics and common sense, and emerged victorious if only momentarily. The city watched in awe and bewilderment. Fitzpatrick, clad in his trademark leather jacket, climbed out of the cockpit for the second time in 2 years, greeted by a mix of applause and incredulous stares. He had done it again, proving that his previous stunt was no fluke. He was a man who defied expectations, a modern-day Icarus who dared to dance with the sun not once but twice. His victory, however, was short-lived. The wail of sirens, a familiar soundtrack to his exploits, soon filled the air. Police officers, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and grudging admiration, arrested Fitzpatrick on the spot. He surrendered willingly, a hint of mischief still twinkling in his eyes. His legend, already firmly established, had just been cemented in the annals of New York City folklore. The legal system, it seemed, was running out of patience with Fitzpatrick's airborne antics. The judge, while acknowledging the audacity of his actions, could not ignore the blatant disregard for the law. Fitzpatrick was found guilty, but even the courts couldn't resist the allure of his story. His punishment? A $100 fine and a suspended pilot's license. A slap on the wrist, some would say, for a man who had twice held an entire city captive with his audacious feats. But Fitzpatrick, unfazed by the legal ramifications, had already received his true reward. The admiration of a city hungry for heroes, or at least anti-heroes. Thomas Fitzpatrick, the daring bartender of Washington Heights, faded into relative obscurity after his second brush with the law. But his legend lived on, whispered in bars and recounted in newsrooms whenever the mundane present needed a jolt of the extraordinary past. He became a symbol of a bygone era, a time when men like him fueled by a potent cocktail of courage and recklessness, dared to challenge the impossible. Fitzpatrick's story, in all its absurdity and audacity, continues to captivate. He reminds us that sometimes the line between courage and recklessness is blurred, that heroes can emerge from the most unexpected of places, and that even in the concrete jungle of New York City, the sky is not the limit when it comes to human ambition, however misguided it may be. The tale of the drunken pilot who landed on NYC streets twice serves as a timeless reminder that truth, as they say, is often stranger than fiction.